because no one gets to experience life with no trauma. It's about informing ourselves on and processing our trauma. We have to uncover it. It doesn't go anywhere just because we're ignoring it. On the contrary, it gets stored in the energetic system in the body, more so the more we ignore it. And we know that thoughts and emotions hold vibration, and held trauma can metastasize into illness. So it's integral we work through it. This season of Reconditioned is made possible thanks to HIFAS TERRA, and I'm a little bit obsessed with them and I want to tell you why. So if you follow me on social media, you'll know I talk about mushrooms a fair bit. Yes, I am that wild, and no, not the psychedelic kind. Not this time anyway. I've known about the crazy health benefits of medicinal mushrooms for a while, especially after watching Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, but I never found a brand that I fully trusted. And then I came across HIFAS TERRA, and I am not exaggerating when I say it has been life-changing. They have medicinal mushroom products to support autoimmune diseases, allergies, hormonal imbalances, gut health, brain function, emotional well-being, musculoskeletal issues. The list is endless. And because they're one of the few mycotherapy companies to actually carry out clinical trials on their products, they've been able to develop their Onco range, specifically for cancer. And potentially my favorite, they have products for children's immune systems and the gut-brain axis. Great for ADHD, sensory issues, and gut support. These have got my kids through this winter of illness, and they've made a huge difference to my son's sensory challenges. I'm swearing by them. HIFAS TERRA mushrooms are not only certified organic, but they use the fruiting body of the mushroom as opposed to the root, which even the so-called top mycotherapy companies are not doing, because it's more time-consuming and more expensive, but HIFAS are. Spoiler, you get more benefits from the fruiting body, which is one of the reasons HIFAS products are more effective. The concentration and content of their products are also much higher than standard brands, and the company are constantly striving for quality, effectiveness, and safety, putting over 60% of their profits back into research. These products have changed my life, and I want you all to have access to this level of healing. So visit hifasterra.co.uk, that's HIFASDATERRA.co.uk, and use code Lauren15 for 15% discount. Thank you so much to HIFAS TERRA. Hi, I'm Lauren Vaknine, and you're listening to the Reconditioned podcast. I created this podcast following my journey from severe disability since infancy to complete wellness, as a way to share my passion of healing the whole self. Because I learned in my own journey to wellness and through my 2 decades in the wellness industry that it makes no difference what you're here to heal. It all requires the same whole person approach. We tackle everything from trauma, health optimization, and neuroplasticity to manifestation, holistic parenting, and everything in between to help you create an optimized life of well-being, abundance, self-mastery, and purpose. You're not meant to live a life of stagnation, and you're not meant to be just fine. So hang around and let me help you recondition your life back to wholeness. All right, welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for tuning back in every time. I appreciate you. Okay, trauma. I talk a lot in my work about trauma because our traumas in most cases dictate the way we operate and show up in the world. Our traumas are what shape us and dictate what we do and even how we think. Now, when I talk about trauma, I'm always referring to the little t traumas as well as the big T traumas. So the not being seen, the not being heard, not being validated, the getting stuck in an elevator when you were 5 and not having anyone validate the very real fear you felt that you'd always be alone. The growing up in an unstable environment where you never had complete stability. Now, children need what Daniel Siegel calls the 4 S's. Seen, soothed, safe, and secure. So lack of security literally changes our brain, our cognitive function. So if in any part of your upbringing you were lacking security, this would have impacted every aspect of your life. We make decisions from a place of trauma if that trauma is not healed. So if you grew up with any form of insecure attachment, you will make decisions from that place. So your decision to not leave the unhealthy relationship will be because you feel it offers you some modicum of stability, even if it is unhealthy. You don't have the self-assurance and self-worth to know that you deserve more. And your primary requirement is stability and security. So you choose things based on this. Same with staying in the wrong job or any other situations that don't serve you. It feels like security to you, even though anything remotely unhealthy is not at all, but you've never been shown the difference. So we understand the need to heal trauma, and that goes way beyond just this. It's how we pass it down to our children so it becomes intergenerational trauma. So for example, if you grew up in some form of poverty and you haven't healed all the thought processes that came as a result of that, even if you're still in it, you'll be showing your children those same thought processes, thereby perpetuating the cycle continuously. So who breaks it? At what point does it break if not with you? So we have all these reasons to heal trauma, but how do we actually do it? So before we go into how to heal it, we have to understand one fundamental point that actually is key in healing trauma, because often people get hung up on how they could have avoided certain situations or have resentment around their childhood, which is understandable, but this is what we need to understand. It's not about trying to escape the possibility of trauma, because no one gets to experience life with no trauma. It's about informing ourselves on and processing our trauma. We have to uncover it. It doesn't go anywhere just because we're ignoring it. On the contrary, it gets stored in the energetic system in the body, more so the more we ignore it. And we know that thoughts and emotions hold vibration, and held trauma can metastasize into illness. So it's integral we work through it. Now, when we do this, the trauma actually benefits us as it enables growth and healing that would not have been possible had we not experienced the trauma. So what do I mean by this? So if I take my own life as an example, my two biggest traumas, growing up with an illness and an abusive relationship in my late teens, both enabled me to grow and arrive at places of healing that just would not have been able to happen otherwise. Getting as sick as I got pushed me to find the answers to get better, which I wouldn't have done had I not been pushed to the limits of disability. Here's the thing about stress and anxiety. Our bodies have not evolved to manage the level of stress we're faced with today, which means that we are constantly in fight or flight mode. And you'll feel this through anxiety and overwhelm, and also through your chronic health problems. Modern life breeds stress, which breeds dis-ease. But if we want to be well, we have to lessen that stress ourselves. Now, I've personally been reducing my stress and overwhelm for 9 months now using the SENSATE. It's a small palm-sized device that sends infrasonic waves through the chest in order to activate the vagus nerve and calm the autonomic nervous system, which is the body's command center. You use it while playing the specially composed hemispheric audio within the app, and the majority of people report feeling calmer after only a short session. Everyone I lend it to ends up buying one because of how much calmer they instantly feel. Now, I'm particularly recommending the SENSATE to anyone who suffers from anxiety and wants help calming the nervous system, those who want to deepen their meditation practice, and people who are looking for ways to be calmer and more grounded. You can get £30 off the SENSATE by visiting getsensate.com and using code Lauren30. That's GETSENSATE.com, Lauren30. Thank you so much to SENSATE for partnering with Reconditioned. Now back to the episode. And the trauma of an abusive relationship that I spent decades working through and still work through today, that enabled me to find deep access into my subconscious and intuition in order to find ways to process it that I wouldn't have done otherwise. So it led me closer to my inner child and my inner teenager. It forced me to delve into my shame and guilt and find ways to understand and heal those. And it even enabled me to be a better parent because of what it taught me about managing teenagers through challenging times. So again, understanding that our objective is not to avoid trauma, but to inform ourselves on and process it fully when it does happen. That is the key. So let's get a deeper understanding of why we don't process it properly. And we use animals in the wild as an example here. So when a zebra is out grazing, it isn't out there all anxious, shaking with anxiety, having a panic attack because once before when it was out grazing, a lion tried to attack it. It doesn't do this. So why doesn't the zebra do this? So when the zebra is out grazing and a lion does try to attack it, the zebra has all the tools it needs to try and escape. Now, assuming that the zebra does escape, once it's in the clear and it doesn't need its survival tools like all the adrenaline and cortisol, etc., it knows it can and needs to release the trauma. So yes, a lion tried to maul it to death, but spending the rest of its life being focused on that will keep the zebra in survival mode. And none of us, including wild animals, can exist in this mode. Yet lots of humans are operating predominantly from this place of survival, with high cortisol levels that make us feel horrible on a daily basis and eventually make us sick. So the wild animal intuitively and instinctively knows that it needs to rid itself of the trauma. It knows something very profound that we don't realize. We think trauma is all in the brain, but trauma is actually stored in the body. So while we can and should engage in tools like EMDR to help process the trauma, and you can listen to episode 96 that I recorded with Tammy Valicenti all about EMDR, one of the most important and profound things we need to be doing following any trauma is to release the trauma from the body. So how does the zebra do this? The zebra shakes. It literally physically shakes itself. And this is somatic healing. Now, we are animals and we have to come to trauma with a similar approach. So for us, if it's a smaller trauma, like narrowly avoiding a car accident, or an example, a few weeks ago, my 4-year-old ran out into the road and a van was coming and it literally nearly hit her. I was shaking for hours afterwards. My body was shaking as a survival mechanism to help me rid myself of the trauma. So in that moment, because I have now learned this stuff, instead of drinking a hot sweet tea, which is what my mum told me to do, I took a homeopathic aconite for shock. I put some music on and I made us all dance it out so we could move the energy out of our bodies because my son was there too. And it was a whole he was scared because I was screaming. And then I did a tapping exercise for myself and for Vida so that we could both process the trauma. Now, if it's a bigger trauma, EMDR alongside somatic experiencing with a practitioner, even a great osteopath who's well versed in this can help using craniosacral therapy and other tools, and any somatic bodywork and massage with a bodywork practitioner. So again, it's not about spending our lives trying to avoid trauma or being anxious around the fact that it might happen, because in many cases we can't avoid the things that are out of our control. What we can do is equip ourselves with the tools we have at our disposal to know how to process trauma through and out the body when it does happen. And that is key to overcoming trauma so that it doesn't dictate the rest of our lives. So there's some great resources for this subject. Some of them are Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine, The Body Keeps the Score by Vessel Banderkolk, and anything by Gabor Mate and Daniel Siegel. And of course, I'll put these all in the show notes. And I have a whole module on trauma processing in the Recondition Your Life Academy. So feel free to get your name on the waiting list for that for the next time we launch. So again, a short and sweet episode that gives you pretty much in a nutshell what you need to help you understand the purpose of trauma and how to process it. So I hope this helped you to understand that very, very real need to process trauma effectively, and that it sets the wheels in motion for you to start processing any traumas of your own. Okay, my lovelies, love and gratitude to you all. If you haven't yet heard, I have just released a free journaling course. If you've always wanted to try journaling but just don't know where to start, or you've been hearing how powerful journaling can be but you just don't understand why, or you want to create a daily practice that enhances your life but you just need a little support in doing that without it costing you anything, this course will do all that for you. It is packed with content that will show you just why journaling is important, how to do it, where to start, and how to make it work for you. It is completely free, and that is as a way for me to pay it forward because journaling really is one of the most integral parts of my growth practice, and I want to give that to you. All you have to do is click on the link in the show notes to get the course sent directly to your inbox. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Reconditioned. I am honestly so grateful to each and every person that tunes in. Thank you also for taking responsibility for your own well-being. You should know that just by choosing to listen to podcasts like this that further your well-being, you're moving more deeply into abundance consciousness. Now, don't forget, I have a bunch of free resources over at laurenvakneen.co.uk, as well as every recommendation you could ever need in regards to your well-being on the LV Recommends page, all categorized for your ease. Thank you also to our sponsors. These episodes would not be possible without them, so make sure to check them out and get some pretty awesome discounts on the show notes. And of course, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that you can get updated each time a new one is released. Thank you. I appreciate you. Reconditioned is proud to be working with Women for Women International, a charity that supports women survivors of war in 8 war-torn countries around the world. You can help a woman survivor of war transform her life today by visiting womenforwomen.org.uk/donate.